And John Lee Hancock, also the director of The Rookie and The Blind Side, two sports movies that people mention all the time. He's going to be joining us in hour number 3. Michael Vick will join us top of hour number 3. I'll ask him about what he thinks of Aaron Rodgers and also him running a 4.72 for my Run, Rich, Run.
Ooh, baby.
And wait to hear what miles per hour he topped at, because we are having one of the executives, John Pollard from Zebra Technologies, which donated generously to present Run, Rich, Run, and also put devices on us while we were running to get our top speeds and equate them to current players today. That'll be amazing.
Wow, that's awesome.
TJ Jefferson has already appeared on The Price is Right on the East Coast and is appearing on The Price is Right in the middle of the second hour of the show when I will turn to you and ask you what did go down when you recorded this about 5 weeks ago. That day has arrived.
Finally.
You will reveal, if you did make it to Contestants Row, what happened when you made it to Contestants Row, and if you got anything more than a nice parting gift. I cannot wait to hear about all that. And what pricing game, if you got out of Contestants Row, you played. We are all Price is Right freaks. I cannot wait for that. But coming up, we have another head coach in the NFL. Yesterday it was Kyle Shanahan. Matt Rhule, the new head coach of Sam Darnold. Why did they trade for him? Why did they not take Justin Fields or Mac Jones when they had the opportunity? Why did they go J.C. Horn over Patrick Surtain?
Right.
Lots of great questions to ask Matt Rhule, the head coach entering his second full year there in Carolina. That's next. Don't go anywhere. An actual head coach in the National Football League. We've also got Frank Reich later on, Brandon Staley later on this week, Arthur Smith of the Falcons, Mike McCarthy of the Dallas Cowboys is scheduled to join us later on this week as well. We are locked and loaded on what's going on in the National Football League and the NFL draft that just completed. Don't go anywhere. We're back with Matt Rhule in a moment. Let's talk about the Epic Speed driver, everybody. Callaway is using artificial intelligence to bring you the future of speed. There's something called Jailbreak Speed Frame in all of the Epic drivers, which is an AI-designed structure that connects the top and bottom of the driver right behind the face, enhances torsional stability at impact. Let me put it into plainer English for you. It reduces the amount of the driver head twists and deforms when you hit the ball. That means more energy stays in the driver face, transfers to the ball. Ball go far. And it's just for every player, about every player, because all the Epic drivers have that jailbreak speed frame. Most players are going to love the forgiveness of the Epic Max. That's what I use. The Epic Speed is the fastest Epic. Better players Epic Max LS capitalizes on the Tour-preferred combo of low spin plus high stability. Check out the Epic family of drivers at CallawayGolf.com/Epic. Back with Matt Rhule of the Carolina Panthers in a moment. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. You said how Aaron Paul, you were thinking of killing off his character by the end of season 1.
The original idea was, you always got to come up with a great season ender. You want a cliffhanger of an episode to keep folks watching next year. And my thought early on, before I even met Aaron, before we cast Aaron, was to have this young guy, former student of Walter White, played by Bryan Cranston, give Walt his entree into the business, sort of show him the ropes of criminality. And then at the end of that first season, that character, Jesse Pinkman, would get horribly killed in some very cinematic, graphic way that I never quite nailed down. But he would be murdered by some rival drug dealers, and Walt would feel very guilty, and then he would seek revenge, and that would propel us into season 2. Then I meet Aaron Paul, and I cast this young guy, and he's fantastic in the role, and he's such a sweet guy to boot. He's just a wonderful guy that I think we're probably shooting the second episode, and I was hanging out on the set with him, sitting in those chairs near the monitors, and I just make a conversation. I say, I was going to kill you off. That was the original plan. He goes, what? He gets all like nervous. He goes, what are you talking about? No, this is a good thing. It's a good thing. Mm-hmm. And I tell him the story I just told you, but he's not hearing the compliment contained within. He's just thinking, oh my God, I might get killed off. And I told this story to Bryan Cranston. I think he wandered by as he's hearing the tail end of this. And he was relentless for the next 6 years. Every time he got a script for a new episode before Aaron did, he'd look through it and he'd read it, and then he'd go up to Aaron, he'd say, buddy, and he'd start massaging his shoulders. It was this next one. At least you're going to go out with a bang. And Aaron, it never got old because Aaron, God bless him, his eyes would just go wide like a deer in the headlights.
Well, because anything could happen on this show.
Well,
that was what was such a great thing for me consuming it, watching it, is you just really never knew. I see something off camera. I'm wondering what is that? Did you bring this?
I did indeed, and this is a gift for you and your studio.
No way.
This is this is of course the character of Gustavo Fring, played by the amazing Giancarlo Esposito, and this is him post. Spoiler alert! This is him post.
That's a bad moment in the nursing home. Very bad moment in the nursing home.
Very bad moment, and a wonderful artist. This was part of an art show we had a couple of years ago where artists who were inspired by Breaking Bad came up with various artworks, and this is one of them. I love this one.
We're going to put this on the wall.
Oh, man, thank you.
You'll always have a place here, Vince. That was the first day we were on the air in October of 2014. That was our first in-studio guest in the history of the Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Latest guest in the history of the Rich Eisen Show has been on before. Pleased to have back here after his second draft as a head coach in the National Football League. Carolina's Matt Rhule. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. What was it like in your draft room? The number of times I'm sitting there on the set and I'm hearing the Panthers are trading down, I lost track and then you moved up. I mean, you were all over the board. What was it like that night in the weekend?
I think there were a lot of nervous coaches and scouts as they sat there and they watched other people draft them. But I think at the end of the day it worked out. It was nerve-wracking at the time, to be quite honest. Because you're taking some gambles, but at the end of the day, the risk wasn't outweighed by the reward.
So let's jump right into it, if you don't mind. You had the choice of every defensive player on the board. I mean, that's incredible. That had never happened in the history of the draft. That somebody 8th overall could be sitting there having every defensive player at their ready, because the draft had never started with 7 offensive players in a row. Were you close to making it 8 offensive players? We
had thought about it. I mean, we liked a lot of the guys that obviously the guys that went before us and the guys that were there. But we looked at J.C. Horn as like being the perfect player for us. A great player, son of an NFL player, so he's grown up in it. Loved the way that he plays, and then obviously fills a need for us. And so I think anytime you can get a guy that you feel really good about, not just what they do on tape, but also who they are and their mental makeup. It was a pretty easy pick for us.
Well, I mean, you had, like I said, every defensive player available to you, and there was Patrick Surtain as well. I know you just kind of mentioned that you liked the fact that his dad played in the league and he maybe grew up around the sport. Why else J.C. Horn over Patrick Surtain from Alabama?
I don't think anything negative to either player. I just think as we spent time with JC on Zoom, I went to the pro day. As I just kind of watched him walk around and interact with people, you can just feel his competitiveness, and so that's something that I love. And there were lots of other guys that we knew, like, hey, these guys would help us and they'd come in and play for us. But JC, there was just a certain edge, a certain vibe to the way that he plays that just kind of jumped off the tape. And I think it wasn't just me. I mean, I think our secondary coach, our coordinator, our GM, I think everyone felt that, and he is the way that we want to play.
And was it any point of view, because again, I'm sure you're very happy to get him and excited to get him, any point at all you're like, am I ever going to choose an offensive player in the draft? Because I mean, your entire first draft was defensive players, Coach.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I looked over at the offensive staff, and you could see them. And then I think Mr. Tepper, our owner, he was kind of saying, "Are we ever going to do someone on offense?" in a joking way, but. Again, we love the kid, and then they got back in the second round, and we were able to get a wide receiver, and then a couple offensive players after that. So, but yeah, there were definitely some guys on offense that were like, why do we even write these reports if you're not going to?
Nice. I mean, wide out tackle, tight end from Notre Dame, and Tommy Tremble, and then Chuba Hubbard, who had a terrific career at Oklahoma State. All four offensive players after all of that, but. In terms of an offensive player, Coach, I think I'm not telling any tales out of school that the NFL media writ large, the number of people that I spoke to prior to the draft that was saying Carolina absolutely would take a quarterback if the quarterback was available, despite having acquired Sam Darnold, who I'll get to with you in a second. You had Justin Fields and also Mac Jones on the board. Were they not ranked high enough? Walk me through why you didn't actually go in that direction.
No, I love those guys, and I think that they're going to be great NFL players. I just think for us, when we got Sam, and again, no one, he's 23 years old, just turned 24. We just felt like Sam plus another player, would be better for the team overall. Bill Parcells once said, one player can't do it alone, and so we're just trying to build the whole team. And I just believe in Sam. I believe that he deserves the opportunity to go out and play with us. And I think those other young quarterbacks are going to be fantastic players. But the hit rate on first round quarterbacks isn't real high. And to have a chance to get J.C. Horn and have Sam Darnold, we just kind of felt like, hey, this is 2 for 1. Now we just have to make sure Sam's a great player for us.
Well, I mean, Coach Matt Rhule of Carolina Panthers here on the Rich Eisen Show. I think I've said this to you before, and if not, you may already know it. As a Jet fan who was, at the time also hoping maybe you would get hired there a couple of years ago, hearing the words deserve the opportunity and associated with Sam Darnold, like, huzzah for that. Like, yes, he deserves it. He deserves the opportunity. And the conversation about him not being properly evaluated because of the circumstances surrounding him in New York for the first 3 years, I lost track of the number of times I hear that. How did you evaluate him? How are you able to evaluate him by saying, let's go get him as an organization? How are you able to do that?
Yeah, this all happened kind of in a weird way. We were sitting there one day on defense, and I can't remember we were watching a cut up, and Sam was playing on the other side of the ball, and a couple times he made some throws, and Phil Snow, our defensive coordinator, was like, man, that kid looks like Matt Stafford, and so we put a couple games on him. This is the defensive staff. Mm-hmm. And they were all like, you know what? Every game we watch, he makes a couple of big-time plays, and there has to be some meat on the bone there. And so I kind of went through the process and kept watching him and going back and watching him in college and watching his pro day and then going back and watching his first year in a different offense and the second year and his third year. And, when the compensation was enough where, we didn't have to give up what we thought was too much, that would hurt our team and a chance to get him here, we had watched so much tape on him that we saw enough shining moments. And then what's been really good for us is after getting him here, talking to Robbie Anderson who played with him, talking to other guys who played with him, there's not many guys who've been his teammates who say anything bad about him. Like, they all have believed in him and believe that he can be good. And hearing, some of his former coaches talk about him, they believe that he can be good. And so I've always been kind of a nurture versus nature guy. I think people have to be in the right situations, and hopefully a change of scenery is what he needs, and hopefully, he comes here and plays with Robbie again and DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey and can just go out there and be one of the guys and play well. And
he's insanely positive too, Matt. I mean, the number of times that I would run into him at events or at the Super Bowl after the Jets had a disappointing season, and he would say, "We've got this. We're going to get this right." I kind of would look at him as, then you've spent time in New York, so you just say, really? And you kind of look at him in the face and say, does he really believe it? And he does. Like, he's an insanely positive person on top of it. How much from your experience while you were maybe kicking the tires in the Jets and vice versa a couple of years ago when you went back to Baylor, did you utilize any of that conversations that Sam, I imagine you were connected with him in that process, that you were able to lean on that as you acquired him this time around?
Yeah, when the Jets folks, first class folks, when they came to Waco to interview me, one of the first things they did was pull out an iPad and had me FaceTime